Have I made a mistake buying this GTD without test driving it because it's done 126,000 miles? Listen to those land sails squeal. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, of the 6 cars currently on the Volkswagen fleet, my Mark 5 Golf GTI Edition 30 is easily the most practical, and as a result it's my preferred daily drive. It's pretty good at that, apart from the fact that it's quite thirsty. It really does over 30 to the gallon. But the biggest issue is that it's actually too precious to use for tip runs, because however careful you are, it's still easy to damage the interior trim and the rear bumper. So recently I've been craving something truly practical. I've always been a big fan of the Skoda Yeti because it offers a lot of the perks of an SUV with none of the downsides. But even though I meet the minimum entry requirements of having at least some grey hair, next time we see one, have a look, it really is a thing. I can't bring myself to buy one just yet, especially when there's another car that ticks all my boxes and from certain angles can look like a proper GTI. It is, of course, the Golf GTD estate. So in this video I'm going to give you a tour of this one that I've just bought, and then we'll go for my first drive in it. And I genuinely mean my first drive. I've not test driven it, and it was delivered here and it hasn't moved since then, as this photo with the owner's new car proves. Have I made a mistake buying this GTD without test driving it because it's done 126,000 miles? Well, we'll definitely find out later in the video. But now let's start off then with a tour of the outside and the inside to see how well it's worn those miles. Now, it's that time in the video where I like to remind you guys how you can support the channel. The easiest way to do that is to subscribe. I've listened to your requests, and there's going to be a lot more Volkswagen content on the channel, not just on this car, but others as well, and the Porsche content will keep on coming as well. So please do subscribe. The other way you can support the channel, which should benefit the both of us, is simply to give me the opportunity to pay more for your car. The dealer I work for is very reputable and can therefore sell cars for good money. In theory, we can pay top money for your car, but cars do need to be unusually good. So we're not looking for a lot of cars, we're just looking for the best. So we want high spec and low mileage and in great condition. Other than that, actually, we're not going to be too specific this time. So just drop me an email, andrew@volkswizard.co.uk, and I'll give you a yes or no very quickly. Firstly, big shout out to the guy who sold me the car, John from Locking Wheel Nut Removal Service. We were neighbours on the site where I used to run Volkswagen, my car sales business, for 10 years. And he was a really good bloke. It's both him and Toby the cat are the only two things I miss from that place. Now, he bought this car in 2019 when it was 6 months old. It was previously owned by Volkswagen Group UK, hence it's got a KY number plate. And he bought it from a Volkswagen main dealer, which was sitting a Volkswagen in Harrogate. And it was, get this, £21,500. Blimey, I'd pay that for it now with that mileage on the clock. It's a basic spec, but the 7.5s are pretty good anyway. It's a nice colour though, tungsten silver. The reason John went for this was because he saw one of the up GTIs I was selling in this colour, and it was either this or indium grey. But yeah, this is a pretty smart colour for a GTD, and obviously it's exclusive to 7.5s. Now, John had this car for from 2019 to now, so over 4 years, and for all the time I was at the site, I used to see it coming up the driveway, you know, a few times a day, because he used it as a van basically for his mobile locking wheel nut removal service. So it's not really been a motorway car because he only works sort of locally in the West Midlands, and you know, we'll go out and about here and there, but it's definitely not sat on motorways to accrue its 126,000 miles. On the plus side, it's not very chippy, and he's a trained mechanic. He used to be the sales manager at a big Ford dealership, so he knows how to look after cars. And yeah, it still looks pretty mint. It's a little bit dirty, forgive that. I just wanted to give you the raw experience of this car as it arrived. So actually, a little story, when it arrived from sitting there, he had it delivered and it had to go straight back because it had obviously had some damage when it was on fleet with Volkswagen UK. And I think they'd painted one door, like I think it might have been this door, and it was completely different to the rest of the car. So they blended it in. And that was like 4+ years ago, and it still looks great today. Shame he had to send it back, but that's the motor trade for you. Aside from that, it looks really good out here. He's told me there was a mark on the bumper that I should allow for, but I really can't see it apart from a little nick there. Bearing in mind all the work he's done with this car, taking tools in and out of it, that's pretty impressive. Wheels, well, you know, he's done a lot of miles and parked by a lot of curbs. They could be worse, so that's a bit damaged. We've got some budget tyres. This one's got a bit of corrosion. Again, another budget tyre. And, well, at least they're a set of 4. Again, a bit of corrosion on there. And weirdly, near side front, not the worst one. So they'll need doing, but I've got plans for wheels, which I'll talk about later. It seems pretty straight and true down the sides. I know while John's had it, it's not had any repair work at all. And silver's pretty good at hiding marks. It's only when you have to paint it that you realise it's a bit difficult. Okay, so windscreen. He must have had a windscreen, but like I said, it's not really been a motorway car. So yeah, it's got a Lucas windscreen, an acoustic windscreen, apparently. So that's the outside. So I think with a wash and a wheel refurb, and maybe a touch-up of the rear bumper, maybe not. It's probably not worth messing with it with this colour. It'll be fine. Right, now, let's have a look inside where things are not as good. Now, John did have a seat cover on these seats, but even so, it's still worn a bit. John's not a big bloke, but that is quite a pointy bolster. So I think with the mileage, actually 127,000, it's pretty good. And it looks clean. He is a clean guy. Steering wheel's a bit shiny. But if I remember rightly, he's had quite a few steering wheels under warranty on this car because the leather would start sort of peeling a bit. So I think we can probably get that back with a good clean. But other than that, it's not bad. Floor mat's still good. That's impressive. Door cards, well, it's really hard to damage a 7.5 or a 7 door card. That's good. So, yeah, could be worse. Got a digital cockpit, heated seats, Apple CarPlay with this year. It's not a 2019, so we don't have the SOS on there, and we don't have rear camera or lane assist or auto main beam, but we've still got all the important bits. Radar cruise included. In the back, John says never really had people in the back, and that shows it's not been one carrying kids and stuff. So, not a lot to do there. I keep on going for under here to open the boot. I don't know why. Maybe that's Mark 6. So in here, he's had a load liner. He said he wasn't going to let me have it for a couple of days, the car, because he was waiting for a load liner to come for his new one. So he's pretty fussy like that. And then in here are a load of receipts. John, as I say, was a trained mechanic, so he's done a lot of work himself, but he's kept the receipts and done the date and mileage on there. Cam belt was done. The only thing that was done by Volkswagen recently was the DSG oil at about 65. Got a spare wheel in there, unlike his new car. So yeah, not bad. It's, again, being all carpeted, it's not so vulnerable to damage. You haven't got the shelves sticking out like you have on a hatchback with the speakers in. So yeah, it's good. Let's have a quick look under the bonnet. Now, the only sort of recurring issue I remember John having was a coolant leak, and he was hoping when he did the cam belts at 95,000 miles, I think it's not due to 120, he was hoping to find the water pump leaking, but he didn't. In the end, he found out it was the cap, which apparently is quite common, so that's quite a cheap fix. So let's hope that is the solution, and I'm not plagued with problems like that. But if I am, I've got the guys at APS in Brackley on standby, ready to get this car in. So yeah, nice and original. So no accidents. All the bolts for the panels are all still untouched. Okay then, well, let's hope it drives as good as it looks. So yeah, with a little bit of trepidation, let's go for the first drive in my very high mileage Mark 7.5 Golf GTD estate. Well, welcome to the first drive, or even first startup of my Mark 7.5 Golf GTD estate. It's like being inside an old friend, if that's the right kind of phrase. Yeah, so familiar. Hopefully get the seat a bit lower because John's a bit shorter than me. So yeah, even though it's a diesel estate, we get the same sporty driving position of a Golf. If you want it, you can sit higher. So yeah, genuinely the first startup about to happen. Foot on the brake. It is automatic, by the way, which is brilliant as long as the gearbox is smooth. I've had trouble in the past with DSGs, and it's not been a motorway car, so it's gone through the gears quite a few times. So anyway, let's see how we get on. So cold starts. It's a coldish day, under 10 degrees. I'm scared. Glow plug delay. Oil service due. Well, I'm not sure that's true. So let's have a quick look at the trip computer. John's given me half a tank of fuel. That's better than I get from some dealers. So thank you very much, John. Average since start, 58.9 to the gallon. Okay, so long term, 22 hours driving. It's done. 43.3, which isn't bad, but it does point to the fact it's not been sitting on motorways. I keep on talking about that. I bought lots of ex-company cars from auctions with 100 plus, and they've been like new. This is slightly different. It's had a lot of weight in the back as well. Okay, well, let's get belted in and go for that first drive. Well, that worked. Mirror drops down like it should do. Parking brake comes off. Takeoff is smooth, but then it always is when they're cold. It's when they warm up they tend to be a bit tricky. I'll just put my glasses on. Front and rear parking sensors. All you need, isn't it, really? Auto headlights. Gotta say, I really don't like shiny steering wheels, so I'll be doing something about that in the future, but it might just clean off, so we'll see. Otherwise it's pretty mint. So it's still cold. There's a little bit of diesel rattle, but it's okay. Again, this road's pretty bumpy, and I'm impressed by how rattle-free this car is, actually. Yeah. The suspension feels a little bit soft, but then it was probably originally, and now it's done this kind of mileage, especially over a lot of speed humps, it's going to be a little bit flaccid, but we've got plans for that, which I'll talk about later. Okay, so it might be a GTD, which is closely related to a GTI, but I don't think, with the amount of wear on the suspension and the budget tyres, it's probably a good idea to chuck it around one of my favourite S-Bends. So it doesn't feel too bad. Sometimes cars that are compliant, they roll a bit, actually are alright. This is quite a bumpy corner. Oh, yeah, we kind of had a little bit of float with a mid-corner bump there. Yeah, there's a bit of float on the entry there. Oh yes. Okay, damping has seen better days, so that's definitely moved up to the top of the list. But it doesn't bang or rattle, so that's good, because rattles are much harder to sort than tyre dampers. Should we just try the brakes? Yeah, there goes my phone. It's yeah, good. So it doesn't seem to have lost much on that, but John's maintained it well, and I'm sure it's got decent discs and pads, so that is good. Okay, we've got some evil speed humps here, and kind of been warming up a bit now. We're halfway to where we need to be, and yeah, we can do them at 30, no problem. The steering feels alright. If it wasn't for the steering wheel, it would feel pretty normal, so that's good. try the wipers. Yeah, that's good. Let's try the horn. Actually, it's just had an MOT. Yeah, so not only have I got half a tank of fuel, I've got a longer MOT than I get from most dealers as well. Okay, so we're doing 60 now, and no bearing noises. Nothing. It's really quiet. We've got driving modes, of course, because it's a GT car. Let's put it in sport. Have we got fake? Don't think we have, no. Quick, man. It's quick. 184 horsepower, but a shed load of torque. And onto those brakes. They feel nice, and maybe because they're like old and done a few miles, they actually feel more progressive. The harder you press, the more it stops, which I don't think that's normally the case. So far so good. John, you are still on my Christmas card list. Oh. Listen to those land sails squeal. Not bad. No issues with that box. Oh, here we go again. We've even got manual mode if you really want to have a play. I mean, it's not the most responsive of engines, but it's not bad. I tell you, it does feel looser than other GTDs I've driven because it's got this kind of mileage on it. As long as it's well maintained, that shouldn't be a problem. I'm in almost motoring nirvana here. Forget GT4s, 50 plus to the gallon, a cup holder here, heated seats, CarPlay, the sun is out, and I'm on a good road. Now this is where you want your car, which probably a Skoda Yeti wouldn't comply with this. You want your car that's a sensible choice to still be a bit of fun, and that's why I've gone for a GTD and not the lesser version. I don't even know what they are. SE? I don't know. So we're doing 60, coming into this bend, and you can feel the weight shift around a bit on the shocks, but it's alright. Luckily this is a very smooth road, and usually smooth. But going into this sort of S-bend complex, really, I mean, it's just not right. It should feel that good. Telegraph pole dead ahead, not scared. Big bus, bit scared. And in this corner you need to keep tight, and yeah, mid-corner bump then, it didn't upset it too badly, but it was a short and sharp one. And then these S-bends, which I've seen many a Ford Focus go into the hedge, I don't think we need to drop a gear, but we're in fourth, and you can feel it pitch over, but it's not bad. And then can we get the weight back and around on this corner? Wow! And then over those imperfections, it just pretty much floats. Over this crest, and then one more right-hander. If you can do this one at this speed, which is quite high, that speedo right? So on budget tyres, knackered old suspension, and this car will keep up with pretty much anything. I think that's really, really impressive. You could hear a bit of a bang then from the suspension and probably the wishbones and stuff, because we were braking hard over a rough bit of a road. What we need to do now is start from stationary with the gearbox warm, because DSGs can be a little bit jerky and I really hate that. No. All good. And I've always felt if the car's lived in an urban environment, that it's more likely to wear out the DSG. This is 7-speed though. That's generally what I've worked out with 6-speed. The 7-speed is a bit of an unknown quantity at these miles, but yeah, if you've got this gearbox, then going by this one, it feels really, really nice. normal Mark 7. Still looks good. Okay then, so future plans. Well, I do actually like the classy looks of the GTD on these wheels, but they need refurbishing, they need tyres. So I managed to find a really nice package of wheels for this car on eBay, and I'm picking them up in a few days. So I'll reveal those then, because that will be the first long drive this car will do. It's going to be about 350 miles in total, so yeah, look out for that. Then those wheels will look stupid on this car with the suspension as it is, so I'm going to get some uprated shocks and springs. We're not going coilovers, but I do like what Bilstein do with their IBAC springs as a package. I think it's B12s, so I'm going to try and get them. They'll give us a little bit of a drop, something like 15 mil or so, because it's already dropped, and then with the wheels that should look great, and obviously being a GTD it should look great as well, so that really would make it look as good as it needs to. There's no sort of prep work on the body needs doing. Obviously this bolster needs fixing, it probably just needs the fabric pulling tighter and stitching up again, and then beyond that, I don't know, you tell me. I was thinking about getting in touch with somebody who can tune it, get it remapped maybe. I think Darkside would probably be the first people I'd contact about that, but we need to make sure it's working reliably first. So far, apart from a little bit of diesel rattle when it was cold, which it doesn't do now. Let's just try that again. No, it's fine. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. This would genuinely be my first drive, so I'm really pleased to report that the thing that made us buy Volkswagens in the first place all those years ago, how they don't fall apart like other cars at high mileages, seems to be the case with this car, and it's not had an easy life like a lot of company cars with this kind of mileage will have had. It's really been used quite hard in that it's been in urban traffic most of its life. It'll be interesting to see how the Mark 8 GTDs wear something for the future. Well, as ever guys, thanks for watching this Volkswizard video. Keep subscribing, keep commenting, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.